I got the motherfucking force. But nigga, you ain't got a choice. You ain't got a motherfucking choice.
Today I'm with Fiona Geary, and we are here at University of California, Riverside, enjoying a nice meal at Market at Glenmore. The weather is beautiful today, isn't it?
Yeah, the sun is shining.
Great. It's like 90 degrees. Actually, it's 80 degrees. That was not true. But there's a slight breeze today. It's very nice. There are others around talking, enjoying each other's company as we are today. You know, engaging in good conversation as we always do. We're always talking about some good stuff. Today, we're gonna, talk about some very deep things politically, but we'll get to that in a minute. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself, Fiona. What year you are here at UCR, major, anything that has stood out to you since you've been here, anything that you've learned in your field of study so far.
Okay, I'm a first year. I'm a political science major.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living my life. My classes so far haven't been the same as our current political climate because I'm learning about the foundations of politics.
Ooh.
So, really get the best of both worlds at this point because, I get to see what's actually happening now and the implication of all these foundations. But then, I'm still educating myself on how it all started.
Okay, I like that. So, let's get into the topic for today. Interracial individuals, relationships, and the intersectionality that crosses into those topics, such as race, class, gender, all that. As you know, I am, interracial, black and Mexican. My mother's Mexican, my father's black. You are white?
Yep, all white.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
100% white.
Yep.
Great. So let's just get deep into it. How do you personally feel about interraciality?
Okay, so in my life, I was very sheltered as a child. So I had different things that I needed to learn when coming into this world of, new people.
Right. Here at UCR.
So, here at UCR. Yeah, we're super diverse, which is good. It's definitely a change from my hometown.
Okay, and where's that?
Claremont, California. It's known for being very white.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, I think it's something that needs to be talked about more. It's kind of cast aside at times, especially within different socio-political classes and just different areas of the country. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. So you think that it's definitely underrepresented in society?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I feel the same way. As a person who is, mixed, I absolutely agree that it does not have enough attention and spotlight. So I think that was great. So, do you think intersectionality crosses into interraciality? Is there any intersection there?
I think there can be.
Okay.
And so intersectionality is embracing everyone, especially the context I see it most in is intersectional feminism.
Okay.
So instead of just being a white feminist and worrying about myself, I need my feminism to be intersectional.
Good.
And so I think that intersectionality and interraciality can pair really well together because if I'm not just gonna worry about other white girls in my feminism, so
Okay.
they can pair very nicely.
They can pair.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into a little bit more about that because it's honestly it pairs a lot. Once I got in there and did the research, I was like, hold up.
Okay.
This is a lot of stuff, and you don't necessarily see it when you don't when you kind of look at these things separately. But I guess that's intersectionality. And it's a super broad topic.
Yeah.
Intersectionality covers a lot. So we're just going to get into this little part.
Okay.
Are you aware that incarceration rates of colored people, specifically black people, are much higher than any other race?
Yeah, I am aware of that. I know also that since the war on drugs has been escalated since Ronald Reagan and Nixon, the incarceration rates, especially of minorities, have skyrocketed because of the differences in how white people and minorities and other racial groups have been treated because of the war on drugs.
Right.
And so I do know about that.
Okay, great. And I'm glad you have information on that because that plays a big role, since that generation.
Yeah.
The incarceration rates.
Yeah.
And why do you think that it does play intersectionality, or how do you think it might play into intersectionality?
Okay, so based off the like principle of intersectionality, it's supposed to be open to everyone.
Right.
And so instead of just focusing on one race and their incarceration rates, it's easy to, or if you do, it's easy to just like cast aside all the other figures. And so through intersectionality and like the theory behind it and using that momentum, it's important to like help others who are incarcerated and to bring those topics of conversation up and make it more well known, because it's very easy to just say that like they're just numbers, but if you bring intersectionality into it, then it's more about the people, and like instead of just marginalizing others, so you keep the marginalized away if you don't use intersectionality in like your daily life and even just daily conversation. So.
Okay, and that's, you actually brought up a point there that we're gonna get into in a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm liking it, but first, before we get into that
Okay.
do you think it might connect in any way to a subtle form of segregation, in that it's trying to keep black people away from white people, decrease the chances of intermixing? Do you think that plays a role at all? Because at the end of the day, because black people are, you know, much more due to being incarcerated.
Yeah.
It's like they are being kind of taken away from society.
Yeah.
And do you think that because people of color and minorities do have that, you know, chance that they're basically just being segregated away from the white class?
Yeah, I can see, that actually really makes a lot of sense, especially like going back to what I said for crack cocaine and powdered cocaine.
Really?
Yeah, so the white, like wealthy people on Wall Street, they weren't going to be incarcerated because of the different laws of the use of cocaine.
Wow.
So the administration who put the forth the war on drugs set up their legislation to incarcerate minorities and to incarcerate people who are poor and aren't able to, I mean, like, obviously everyone gets cocaine, but they weren't able to get the type of cocaine that the white people on Wall Street were using. And this is even seen now because of so like with Jeff Sessions, he's like revamping the war on drugs with marijuana, which he shouldn't, because like opioids are such a bigger issue in America right now.
Yes.
But so he's revamping it with marijuana, and so it's a well-known fact that college students can use marijuana, and the white wealthy college students, or just wealthy students that go to Columbia University, they're much less like able to get caught than the people that are living on the streets, and they're already marginalized, and so they're seen in different ways. So the white people in Columbia, or even just Columbian students, or Columbia University students. Just had to clarify that. Columbia University students, they're seen as like hippies who are just like freeing their mind or whatever, and they're the people who are using marijuana that are poor or on the streets are seen as people who can't get a job. They don't want to get a job. They're turning to drugs when it's the same usage. So the way that the administration set up the war on drugs started, I mean, it didn't start, but it definitely continued the legacy of systemic and institutionalized racism in America, and it brought it into the light with drugs. So then, because they paired drugs and incarceration rates with minorities, it just continues the stereotypes that continue to like separate Americans today.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that was very, very well said, because honestly, when you like, let's be honest, when you ask someone what they think about when they see a black person or a person of color or whatever, you know, they think crime, thug, gangster, drugs. Like that's what you typically think about. And in a way, it's systematically brought on because they're incarcerating these people because they're doing drugs, or you know, they're smoking marijuana, doing cocaine. But there are white wealthy who are doing the same exact things. But it's because it's okay, because the system is built to make, well, they can do it. You know, it's fine. But these black people, these people of color, they're dangerous. They're spreading all these drugs, and it's like,
that's not, you're segregating them, not
Yeah.
only stereotypically,
Yeah.
but, you know,
Physically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Separating them.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
actually that's very true. And I actually didn't know that the Reagan legislation and administration were
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that.
Well, it was like Reagan into Nixon before
Okay.
Nixon
Right.
had his whole thing.
Yeah,
So,
he was a mess.
yeah.
Anyways, so how about the large gaps in terms of opportunity between black and white people, you know, such as difference in class and education? Could that be seen as another form of subtle segregation, not only because you mentioned the Columbian University students, but also because, you know, in Baltimore City recently, elementary schools were forced to remain in session even though heating was out and temperatures were dangerously low, and only after parents and teachers protested the unfair conditions did the Baltimore City School District close some schools, while others were forced to remain open. And even in the New York Times article that I'm referring to, in which they spoke upon this, they said that it was mainly affecting children of color who are in lower class areas. So even if it's in university elementary schools, it's seen that there's a clear segregation in class, education, drugs, and stereotyping.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think that plays at all into interraciality in terms of that type of segregation?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. So the way that I feel like people are thinking about the Baltimore schools is that they're putting them at a lower pedestal than other schools, and they're saying, oh, like, it's fine if we keep these open because like they're poor and they might not, like, they, in their mind, because of the systemic like separation of races in America, it's often like stereotyped that poor people and minorities are together, so then they don't have as many opportunities in America. They don't. So then it's like, oh, well, like they already don't have any opportunities, so like why, it's gonna be okay, it's just a couple days, like, you know, that's like an easy way for someone to think and to scapegoat their actions.
Yes.
So yeah, I do think that plays a part. And going back to interraciality, I also think that like has a big impact on the way people look at other people in America. Right. So so let me
It's okay. Get it. It's very heavy topic. Get into it. Get those emotions.
Okay.
It's a very heavy. I think at times it becomes a bit confusing the more you get into it because it is so.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, where do you turn? You've got to do your own research.
Yeah.
And like form your own thoughts. So take your time.
Okay.
Get in there.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay.
So like with the example of the Baltimore schools, because there are minorities living there, and because, you know, maybe there are like a larger population of interraciality in those schools, it's easy for people who don't care enough to just like cast them aside, like we said before. Like they don't put enough time or effort into it because like they know that they won't get the reward of like money or like seen in the news or anything, because it's very obvious that the media, I'm not against the media, like, you know, but like the media portrays different articles in different ways, right?
Yes.
So like sometimes like different crimes will be portrayed in different ways, and
yes.
or like different populations are like, they get more or less news coverage, like that's very obvious in America. So I feel like if it was a school in a white wealthy neighborhood, there would be so much more media coverage, because the people that are living in that school not only would like talk to the media more and make a big deal out of it,
they have the resources,
but also because it's a white person, they're gonna be like, oh, like, yeah, no, this person cannot go to school with them, you know? So, yeah, I feel like that's definitely how America is set up, which is extremely unfortunate, but that's just, like, the society we live in right now.
Definitely. I mean, because it's, like, it's true. They're like, oh, the white kids, no. Hey, they're in the cold. We're not gonna have that. They shut down schools. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump would have a whole like address about it.
For sure.
Listen, you guys, this is what does America come to? You know, these black kids, you know, they live in low-class communities. They go to low-functioning public schools.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. They're already not doing well.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't
Yeah.
make a difference.
Yeah.
And then I think that also plays into interraciality because, growing up there, I mean, when you think about it, in what is called a ghetto or a project, it's mostly black and people of minority. And so, systematically, it's like a cycle. They're just going in and out
Yes.
of these places.
Yeah.
And they're staying in these low-class communities, low-functioning schools, so that carries on throughout their life.
Yeah.
They have no opportunity because it's given mostly to people who are white. They have no opportunity to grow and get out of that. So to me, that's a form of segregation and a very subtle form of not condoning or not okaying, interraciality.
Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, these white kids have to stay in their white neighborhood, in their white school,
Yeah.
Grow up, have great opportunity with all these other white people in America, and everybody else is kind of just pushed aside. Like, that, it was a big topic. Or it wasn't a big topic, but it should have been.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So you are a political science major.
Yeah.
And a white person, so that's like, that's a lot within itself, I feel like. And props to you, because
Thanks.
a lot of people do not, like, a lot of white people who I've met personally, I don't speak on behalf of all white people.
Yeah.
But they're very much not, they don't like to speak on it. They're, they like to remain silent and ignorant, and I'm like, that's just as bad as not saying anything else. So, applaud to you for being woke.
Thanks.
Shout out.
Trying my best over here.
Right, you're doing good. So do you view this as political or state violence and or political state oppression?
I definitely do. The way that, especially in our current administration, the way that the administration in the state looks to their entire population, especially in this example, it's very obvious that they're already, like, perceiving that community as, like you said, disadvantaged, because they are disadvantaged, but, like, they're like, oh, they're already disadvantaged, like,
Yeah.
So I think that it is oppression, because if the state didn't want to be the oppressor in this situation, they would have taken action and they would have helped instead of just casting it aside until the teachers, the teachers, and until there was a protest, because it's seen. And I'm sure there's a lot of examples of this, but, like, the state and the government, and especially the current administration, is very, very quick to push things under the rug.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
or
yes.
lie at Donald Trump, So, like, it's easy for them to get so caught up in this image of, like, America and, like, the land of opportunity and, like, all the stuff, that they don't actually care about the people who are fighting so hard to achieve the opportunities that they came, or that they were born into America for.
Yes. And that proves a good point, because, we are supposedly born into a land of freedom, opportunity, what is so-called the American dream, yet it's only limited to white people.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is being politically, systematically, socially oppressed.
Yeah.
And it honestly falls upon the government from the beginning of time, since colonizers and settlers came to America, did not find it, they came here. Yeah. That's the thing.
Let's talk about that. Discovered? Not true. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Yeah,
they actually came here, like, took over land. And it seems like ever since then, they have just been like, hey, this is the land of opportunity for everyone else. As long as you are white, you've got it all.
Yeah.
But if you're not white, sorry about it. You're just never going to succeed.
Yeah.
And then it's a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I think that is another reason why they subtly encourage to not mix races through this form of segregation.
Yeah.
Because they're like, white people need to stay white.
Yeah.
So they can continue to have the opportunities that they do.
Yeah.
It's a cycle, because I feel like, personally, either you are a person of color or black or, Mexican, whatever. I'm mixed. I feel like there's a lot more doubt cast upon what we can do in society and in America. It's like, hey, you can't do that. Like, you don't have the opportunity, the resources, and it's like we're not even given the opportunity, the resources. So, but it's definitely a form of systematic oppression. And I'm gonna bring up a quote here by Andrea Smith. She's actually a professor here.
Oh.
Andrea Smith, yeah.
Okay.
She's actually a well-known, like, activist. actress.
What a woman.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She's a great activist. She's also a feminist, and she's in her book, or not actually, she has an excerpt in a book called Color Violence, the Insight Anthology, in which she says, clearly the black and white binary is central to racial and political thought and practice in the United States. Would you like me to read that back for you? Because I'm going to ask you about it.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Clearly, the black/white binary is central to racial and political thought and practice in the United States.
Okay.
How do you feel about that quote by Andre Smith?
I think it's very true. Talking about the black versus and white binary, that's like setting up the us versus them narrative, right?
Yes.
So yeah, that is so incredibly prevalent, and especially within white communities, it's very obvious to see the microaggressions that white people portray and give out to people of color and minorities. To added, like, combined together, it's like, okay, so the microaggressions, they start at a young age, right? So it begins to create this us versus them binary.
For sure.
And then the culmination of all of those microaggressions creates the extremely racist narrative that is portrayed within socio-political organizations.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
No, and I agree. So even when she says, the black-white binary, even though she's not, representing the intermixed, community, I feel like even for her to speak on it is amazing. And to say something so truthful.
Yeah.
Like, it's really true. It's black-white, us versus them. It's, we can't coexist, essentially. That's not possible. One of us has to be higher than the other, and it's really just, and it reflects upon the government, because they continue to run a government that is based upon oppression.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's really capitalism, I guess.
You are not wrong there.
That's
oh my god.
really capitalism.
Yeah.
So as we, get into that, let's reflect upon the fact that the government has and continues to structure politics around the advancement of white people and the oppression of black people, people of color, which, as we said earlier, is displayed by Donald Trump, the president of, the land, the free land, as, everyone likes to call it.
Yeah.
So do you think that this can also relate back to the fact that intermixing of, races is just not as accepted in today's world in America, as we think it is? Even though it's not said, it's not, like, you don't see it on a day-to-day basis. You don't see it on the news, you don't walk around, you see someone who's mixed, you're not like, oh, like, whoa, that's not okay. But do you think that there is some, aggression towards the intermixing of races?
Yeah, I really think so, especially with the current administration and Donald Trump. His entire narrative is based off the idea that white privilege isn't real, and the idea that he's keeps trying to shy away from his white supremacist narrative. He doesn't ever want to call it a white supremacist narrative, but it's very obvious that it is. And so with that person of immense power that he has, having him in Congress, and just, look at all of Congress at the moment. So
it's white.
There's an extreme lack of representation and extreme lack of diversity. So I do think that the narrative that is portrayed, not just but with words, but
with actions.
With actions, and even just having that lack of diversity within Congress, it's sending a clear message to those who actually want to create change and who don't see themselves or people like them in positions of power, or even in their dream position. Right. So I do think that that's very prevalent in America.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
I agree. And I feel sad, which is why I wanted to do the topic, for the podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's, not only is it oppression of black people, people of color, whatever you are, as long as you're not white, you're being oppressed. But I think that even, it's true, because from a young age, it's very much white people can do this, everyone else cannot do this.
Yeah.
And then, you know, being mixed, it's like, where do I stand? Because, you know, my mom's white, you know, let's say my mom's not white, but you know, let's say someone's mom is white.
Hypothetically, yeah.
Right. And, you know, well, my mom can do this, but my dad's black, he can't do this, so where does that leave me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that even within itself plays a big role, because it's like, where do you fit in? Where do you fit in society? You know, the one drop rule. Yeah. You know, you're white, you're black, you're black. It's the one drop rule. Yeah. So I think that it's so underrepresented, and especially in politics. Yeah. Even any other person of color is underrepresented. So, last question. Do you think the things we've touched upon today, such as the fact of race, class, and gender, do cross over into raciality? And why can it be argued that is not accepted? Like, how would you argue to someone who says, no, interraciality is accepted? Oh, okay. We see it, it's here. I know many people who are mixed. Okay. But how would you argue to them, like, let me tell you why it's not accepted?
Okay. So, like what we've talked about today, the narrative of the current administration and white people in America is creating this black-white binary that you talked about. So that marginalizes interracial people, and it leaves them in a position of, like you said, feeling like they don't know where they fit in society. So that's one example. Another example is with the incarceration rates. I mean, like, whatever we've talked about today are very clear examples to someone who doesn't understand, and it's obvious that they either don't care enough to get educated, or they're choosing not to see how that concept plays out in America.
Yeah. And I think, and I mean, granted, it's not spoken about, it's not seen, it's not addressed basically in any way, but it doesn't mean you can't be educated, or you can't just look at the simple facts. That it's just like, it's not talked about, it's not addressed. You know, I personally dislike the one drop rule. If I could personally be identified as mixed, I would be identified as mixed. It's not hard for people to get educated, and especially, like you said, in today's political climate, even as far as racial topics go, that is something that has definitely lost its spotlight.
Yeah, all of the extreme issues that people of color, and especially people of color who are so segregated from the rest of society, that they don't have the resources to, like, create a platform for themselves, they just get cast aside, and it needs to be talked about even more. I definitely agree. And I hope this can spark a little bit of interest in everyone, because I think that I hope that it can do something there. Well, thank you for talking. You're very welcome
today. It was great.
They wanna shoot my star shit down. I'm a fly.